Our next speaker is Darren Fleming. To evaluate Stephanie's speech, please welcome Darren Fleming.
Mr. Contest Chair, fellow Toastmasters and guests, it's with great pleasure that I evaluate Stephanie Chan's speech, Necessity, the Mother of Invention. Stephanie's objective this morning was to entertain us, and she achieved that objective. When you set out to entertain, there's a number of elements you must achieve. And the first is ownership and confidence on the speaking platform. How did Stephanie do that? When she entered the speaking platform, she walked tall, hand outstretched to the contest chair, and after the salutations, "Good morning!" What does that do for us in the audience? What it tells us is she's prepared, she's focused, and she knows what she's doing. It enables us to go on the journey with her that she wants to take us on. The second element that you need to include is a good sprinkling of humour, and we had that today. How was the humour constructed? Because it wasn't just accidental humour. If we dissect what happened, Stephanie sent us down a train of thought and then twisted it off to create the humour. The example of that is when I lived in Singapore, Malaysia, we had people to assist us with all our chores. And what are we thinking? Maids, servants. And she said, no, not mothers. That twist gets us to cognitively engage and emotionally engage with her message. When we do that, we are on the journey with her. It's from this humour that I'd like to give my first recommendation. When you look at body language, you take it from, if you graph it from 0, which is very quiet, all the way up to 10, which is talking at the top of your lungs, Stephanie was about 6 and up for the whole presentation. When you take something such as humour and then you put in the twist and then couple it with a drop in tone and volume, you add another element to your presentation. An example of that would be when I moved to Australia, the great southern land of do-it-yourself. It adds another element that takes us on the emotional journey. My second recommendation comes from body language. When you have body language that mimics the words that you're saying, what happens is it can turn into a bit of pantomime. We did the ironing, the old people, and we did the light bulb. How can you take that to the next level? Instead of acting out what you're saying, refer to it. Get someone to do the ironing, look after Nana in the wheelchair and change the light bulbs. That gets us thinking in a different way, and we can see Nana on the stage and refer to the light bulb. With entertaining speeches that tie back to the start, which is what Stephanie, at the end of her presentation, she said, if you come to my palatial house, you'll have a meal cooked by yourself. She referred to the fact that she doesn't cook. What that does is that brings the humour from the start to the end of her presentation. In conclusion, great use of the confidence. Take your body language to the next level and keep those tie-ins, and your presentations will continue to be entertaining speeches.
Oh, thank you very much. Now, do you see a number of the elements that are in there? So what we'll do now is I'll take you through the individual parts that help, that we've gone through, and show you how they work. And then when Robin gives her a speech, when you come up and evaluate it, you can use those elements as well. If you want to win a speech competition, these are the elements that the judges don't even know they're looking for. Okay? The first one is permission. When I go up there, I don't give my opinion. I tell the judges how it is. And then the judges go, okay, that's just what happens. You tell people to do stuff, and believe it or not, you tell them a nice way, they do it. I'll just borrow this for a tick.
To evaluate Stephanie's speech, please welcome Darren Fleming.
Now what do you notice there? The halo. Once again, the context. Name of the speaker and the title. Give the context. Just like table topics.
Stephanie's objective this morning was to entertain us, and she achieved that objective.
Now, this is where I tell the judges what it is that they want. Her objective was to entertain us. Not, I thought the objective was, because if I think it, I could be wrong. But if I'm telling the judges I'm right, the judges think I'm right. It works, man. The judges don't even know it works. No judges in here, are there?
When you set out to entertain, there's a number of elements you must achieve. And the first is ownership.
Now, when you set out to entertain, there are a number of elements you must achieve. Do you know where I got that from? In here. I said, this is what you need. What did that do? It set a context for the things that I wanted to put forward. So when you're looking out and you're going, how am I going to build this in? Set the context up. The context to be, if you want to be entertaining, you must have. And then you have, the points that you have fitted into that must have. Does that make sense?
Confidence on the speaking platform. How did Stephanie do that?
So what did she have? How did she do it?
She walked tall, hand outstretched to the contest chair, and after the salutations, good morning! What does that do for us in the audience?
Here's the why.
She's prepared, she's focused, and she knows what she's doing.
Now, these are the points that I wanted to bring up. How could I bring them up? Put a context around it, and that way they can go across in the little package that I wanted them to.
It enables us to go on the journey with her that she wants to take us on. The second element that you need to include is a good sprinkling of humour, and we have that today. How was the humour constructed? Because
now, this is an important part. This is what set me apart, is I've gone off and I study humour. I study communication. Why? That's part of what I do. It's what I enjoy doing. If you want to stand out from the other people in the competition, if you want to be the good evaluator of your club, if you just want to help people in your club grow, you need to get education from outside of Toastmasters and outside of your club. Coming along to events like this is the way you do it. I have a newsletter that I send out. It's up here. I'll pass that around. Pop your name and email address on there and I'll send you a copy of all the information that I share with my clients. I look at people like Obama and Murdoch. When you look at the way they communicate, you can put those skills into your club and help grow them that way. Then, when you stand up to an evaluation competition, you are going to be saying something different. Yes?
Just about the objectives.
Yep.
So to give the speech you're evaluating, if you don't think the speech has met the objectives, would you say that at the start or would you recommendation?
Case by case situation, but I would include it in the recommendations, maybe, depending on who it was, how tough they were, how the club was feeling, the climate on the night. Yeah, it's if in your opinion, if they don't meet the objectives, you've got to say that, whether it be on stage or later.
So that sort of wrecks your beginning then, doesn't it? If you want to start off with by saying the objectives of the speech was this, and I believe that they achieved it.
They achieved part of it. There's room for improvement. You would put in there how it was.
Okay.
Yes, Jerry.
I've actually used exactly what you said. So, these were the objectives, and I feel to achieve this and this. Only partially did you achieve that, and then I will go on and tell you why I believe that.
Yep.
And you can then start off with the positive.
Yeah. Yep, that'll work. But if you want to stand out, you have to have information that most people don't have. And you look at how many Toastmasters are in WA, most of them aren't here. So you're a step ahead. Well, it's true.
Accidental humour. If we dissect what happened, Stephanie sent us down a train of thought and then twisted it off to create the humour. The example of that is when I lived in Singapore, Malaysia, we had people to assist us with all our chores. And what are we thinking? Maids, servants, no, not mothers. That twist gets us to cognitively engage and emotionally engage with her message. When we do that, we are on the journey with her.
So that's the what and the why. And you show it in detail like that, and the judges go, ooh, high analytical quality.
It's from this humour that I'd like to give my first recommendation.
There's the transitions.
When you look at body language, you take it from, if you graph it from 0, which is very high, all the way up to 10, which is talking at the top of your lungs.
Now what does that show you? You can stuff up and still do okay. So I'm talking about, I said if you take body language and graph it, and I spoke about vocal variety. Yeah, so was I. But if you've got all these other things in there, you fall down in one area, it doesn't matter.
Stephanie was about 6 and up the whole presentation. When you take something such as humour and then you put in the twist and then couple it with a drop in tone and volume, you add another element to your presentation. An example of that would be when I moved to Australia, the great southern land of do-it-yourself. It adds another element that takes us on an emotional journey. My second recommendation comes from body language. When you have body language...
If you can't have a transition, just move on. My second recommendation is shows them, the audience and the judges, that I've got 2 recommendations.
Language that mimics the words that you're saying. What happens is it can turn into a bit of pantomime. We did the ironing, the old people, and we did the light bulb. How can you take that to the next level? Instead of acting out...
Words such as that, how do you take it to the next level? That's not the typical vernacular of the Toastmasters. And Mark came up to me later and said, words like that, Darren, that's awesome. And that's part of the reason why he brought me over for this. Have words that set you out, that show you are the leader, and show the judges this is what you need to have, and that you'll be different to all the other competitors, and you will stand out. You stand out in the right way.
What you're saying, refer to it. Get someone to do the ironing, look after Nana in the wheelchair, change the light bulbs. That gets us thinking in a different way. We can see Nana on the stage and refer to the light bulbs.
That recap, just a bit of a recap, I suppose, of the parts that were mentioned in the speech, is not a retelling. It's simply the example. So this is how you do it.
With entertaining speeches that tie back to the start, which is what Stephanie did. At the end of her presentation, she said, if you come to my palatial house, you'll have a meal cooked by yourself. She referred to the fact that she doesn't cook. What that does is that brings the humour from the start to the end of her presentation. In conclusion, great...
And there's the word that tells them that, yes, this is where we're summing up, that's what they want to hear.
Use of the confidence. Take your body language to the next level and keep those tight, and your presentations will continue to be entertaining speeches.
So, one commendation, one recommendation, and the wrap back. Your speeches will continue to be insert objective. Well done. It is a formula. Guess what? You're judged on a formula. Nothing wrong with speaking to a formula.
Just on your next level.
Yep.
You repeated that about 4 times during the speech.
Did I?
You repeated it quite a bit.
Oh, I hadn't noticed that. Okay.
And I'm just wondering whether, although the use of that word, those words are really good, whether or not it could be repetitive without realising it.
It could be. I hadn't noticed it. I've watched that a couple of times. And I hadn't noticed that. Maybe I'm just looking at the halo too much.
All I'm saying is that bringing in information from the outside and using language that is not usually used it could be a trap for us if we repeated it too much.
Could be. If you, once again, don't give yourself permission to give that style of presentation that you're going to win with, or if you give yourself permission to go out, oh, I'm going to try something different but I know it's not going to work, you'll get that outcome. Have you ever been into area or division district in the rooms where they're preparing for the competitions, the evaluation, the table topics? Oh, it's a great buzz, especially the evaluation, because people are making their notes and then they're going through it. To me, Yes, I was in there.
I was taking people in, I was the usher.
Yeah, you were the usher.
I hear you every time I go there to get somebody for the next.
Yeah, I was going through it. You're giving yourself, geeing yourself up. It's a great buzz if you can get into the room. It's great fun. So what we'll do, any other questions on that? Mark?
I just want to comment on what Jean just said. She said the overuse of take it to the next level. I know that a word I like to use quite often is what I really liked about that speech, or what I really loved about that speech. I use that a lot.
Yeah.
And no one seems to care about that, but that I overuse it. Every now and then someone will say, oh, try and use another word.
Yeah.
But I think it seems to work, and you stick to that formula.
Yeah, it's what works for you. It's personality things. What I would change with that is what I really loved, what was really great, is to take out the I. Just state it as a fact. What was really great? What was, not what would I really like, what was really good, because that is your opinion. Opinions can be argued with. State it as a fact. Facts can't be argued with. It's a fact. It's a well-known fact. Well known by who?
That's something we say. We always comment on the third party. So we say, I have this opinion.
But Darren, isn't that what you're saying? You need to throw away what we've been taught. Because we've all been taught.
If you want to stand out, you have to do something different. Yes, I can stand up here. I think the objective of her presentation was to be entertaining. That's what we're taught, absolutely, because Toastmasters is a fantastic organisation, but what we do is we follow the person in front of us. Okay, if the person in front of us is going down that way, we do too. You need other people who study outside of Toastmasters to put in the information.